What's going on, everyone? It's Alex Miller from the Eagle, joined by Robert Sesson and Travis Brown. We're breaking down Texas A&M's 17-9 win over Miami. This video, of course, brought to you by the Ranch Harley-Davidson in College Station. Needless to say, A&M really needed this win, and I mean, as bleak as last Saturday was for the Aggies when they walked off this field, there probably is a little bit of a renewed sense of hope after this one, Cease.
I always say without a doubt, when you learn football, whatever level, last week was devastating because they lost. This week, as you mentioned, I think the big word is hope. They feel so much better. You got to win, and they won.
The biggest storyline of the game, obviously, Max Johnson taking over as A&M's starting quarterback, Haynes King getting benched after 2 games. Travis, that was really the focal point of your game story after this. We got to hear from Max afterward, his first time talking with us as A&M's quarterback. You know, what'd you really make of his performance and just what he had to say after the game?
It wasn't the game-winning score, but the thing that actually stood out to me and was the lead of my story is the fact that the biggest knock from anyone talking about Max Johnson coming this season is that, well, they're both close, but Haynes King can run. And it was an 11-yard run to get picked up a first down that kind of sparked that last scoring drive for A&M. Ended in I believe it was 25-yard touchdown pass. Max Johnson can move. He also, the thing that stood out to me about him is that he can move in the pocket really well. There was a spot early in the game where a guy was coming in with an arm tackle. He was able to step up in the pocket, and he's a bigger guy. He could step through that arm tackle and deliver a throw. He had good vision around him, and that's helpful for an offensive line that at times can allow a decent amount of pressure in on the quarterback. He had good senses, was able to move around and deliver some passes in traffic. I mean, it wasn't a revolutionary performance. He throws for 140 yards and a touchdown. It was 50% completion, but the offense moved, and I think that's the important thing.
You know, something that I noticed, too, they scored on their first drive of the game, which is not very common under Jimbo Fisher, and then they scored on their first drive of the second half, which, you know, that's just not very common under Jimbo Fisher.
Well, I thought was funny is that drive that Travis alluded to, 3 huge plays. Mm-hmm. That was the catch by Smith, the catch by Chain, the bootleg to start it out with, whatever. But the key is they have big play capabilities now that Johnson's in there. I thought the greatest thing Johnson did was not make mistakes because, once again, no turnovers. They had 3 15-yard penalties in the first quarter, and then they only had 2 penalties the rest of the way as a team. And we saw A&M, this was not a great effort, but they didn't make any mistakes. You know, you could say the 2 targeting, Cessna, yeah, that's why I included those 3 in the first quarter. But the problem is it's amazing what you do when you don't make mistakes. Even his sacks were good because he didn't try to do too much. Throw the ball away was good. Sometimes, think about the mistakes Miami made. They made mistake after mistake. And I think just the fact that Johnson's a junior, been around, transferred, a calming effort. Didn't hurt that Bryce Foster was back either, but that unit needed leadership.
You know, that was something Jimbo Fisher mentioned at least twice, maybe 3 times in his post-game press conference, was that Max Johnson didn't turn the ball over. And if there had been a knock on Haynes King, he had kind of been a turnover machine. And Jimbo mentioned how, you know, Max, kind of a game manager throughout the night, kind of saw that. So, you know, I guess the question is, where are you seeing this A&M offense kind of going under Max, assuming he's probably going to maintain the starting role? And, you know, what they might be able to accomplish with him leading the charge now?
I think the bright spot with the game today is not only what Max was able to do, but when you look at what Reuben Fothery and Layden Robinson were able to do on the right side of the line when it came to run blocking. They were actually able to open up some holes for Devon Achane. And if you go back, and I know, just like Jimbo Fisher, we're going to have to go back and look at the film, but I bet if you go back and tally successful run plays, the majority of them would be running to the right side behind those 2 guys. They were able to find a lot of a push on that side, and I think that helped, of course, the passing game. The only other interesting thing that I still have question marks about is, yeah, they were able to score some big plays. You want to talk about the 25-yard touchdown catch, but they were 0 for 1 on passes of 20 yards plus, where the ball was traveling 20 yards, and they were 1 from 3 in that intermediate 10 to 19 range. all the rest of their passes were from 0 to 9 yards, and that's not a big deal if you're getting the runs like they got from a Chain or they got from Aniyah Smith on those plays. But again, it's going back to last year. Okay, the next step is, can they open up that passing game a little bit further?
Which we had seen in A&M's first game against Sam Houston.
You know, watching tonight's game, and I hope for A&M's sake Miami's not a bad team, because I think, we didn't know about the first 2 games. This is something to build on. They had nothing to build on the last week, and I think the offensive line is going to remain, a unit in transition, because most of the time they rest 4, and they're able to stop the running game a lot, put pressure on. I think the reason they don't throw downfield, Travis, they're going to be careful, is they don't give them time. It doesn't have enough time, and that's and the plays that the Chain and Smith made in the 5 to 8 yard realm was great. If they keep doing that, it will open up things. And you saw at the end, Miami started bringing 5, and A&M burned them a couple times because they needed the ball. But at least it's something to build on. Where last week we were nitpicking everything about how bad they were. There were a lot of, in defense, they had a lot of positives to build on.
I have a question for you, Seth. One thing that stood out to me is looking again at the time of possession. It was 34-20 in favor of Miami. A&M had the ball for 25 minutes and 40 seconds, but they only ran 52 plays. The defense, it's hard to criticize a defense that holds a team to 9 points because you can win that ball game. But they still had trouble getting off the field, and we've talked about it. They're going up against Arkansas next week, a physical team, a team that it just seems like, and for 2 weeks in a row, a lot of times when a team needed that 1 yard, they were always able to get that 1 yard against A&M. What did you think?
You're right, because I had a laugh, because the journalists, hopefully it will come out of me, if Miami has their best receiver, I think they win the ball game. Now, you could say A&M was missing all the guys, they had their 2 good defenders go out. That's very true. But you always got to look at the other team. And if they had their good receiver, who is the roommate of Van Dyke, I'd say they score a couple touchdowns on those 5 times where they went for field goals. But A&M had an arm behind their back as well. So defense is in trouble still because people run against them. The middle looks open. And when you play a better team, and I also think, I chuckled as the game went on, I thought Jimbo got a little conservative on his play calling. 3rd and 2 one time before the last field goal that they hit. They ran a little delay to the left, and a Chain lost a yard, so they had a punt. But they had the lead. So I understand being conservative. The deal was get out of this with a win, but they got to open it up. They got to take more chances because they're not going to be able to win a lot of 17-9 games in the SEC.
All right. I think that's going to do it for us. We got to wrap it up and
real quick though.
Okay.
I have one more thing.
Okay.
We can't get out of this without talking a little bit of special teams because you have the block kick.
Yes.
New guy kicking.
A new guy kicking. Randy Bond, the walk-on. Caden Davis was gone back to the kickoff routine.
Good point.
Just special teams play is another piece of this that I think won them that game.
Without a doubt, and everybody held their breath when Smith muffed that punt and got it back. But I said in my grades, if they don't recover that first punt and score, that you can say that's the difference in the game, because they had a comfortable 10-3 lead at halftime because Miami's offense was so bad. But if it's still been 3-3 at halftime, it'd have been anybody's ball game. They won special teams today, big time.
And then also too, you mentioned a little bit last week against App State, and you can maybe pin this on that what Jimbo was talking about, them having 5th and 6th year guys, but App State didn't make mistakes. Miami had a couple of bad penalties. They had a drop pass on a 3rd down that led to that field goal. They had another drop pass, I believe, that led to the blocked field goal. The muff punt. A&M had some chances that the ball bounced their way, and they took advantage of those.
Missed tackles, where A&M's defense didn't have a lot of missed tackles. Bottom line is, it's something to build on. Last week it was doom and gloom. Max Johnson looks like Superman. He'll get better. The thing is, A&M made a lot of right moves today. They didn't make a lot of right moves last Saturday.
All right. That's going to do it for us here from the Calfield Press Box. Be sure to check theeagle.com for all of our coverage from A&M's win over Miami. For Robert Sesson and Travis Brown, I'm Alex Miller. We'll see you next time.